We're sitting here in January of 2024, the beginning of a new year. A lot of really weird things are happening, but you agreed to do this as a continuation of the Pyramid Code series. So far, part 1 came out, part 2 came out, and now I hope for this to be part 3 with a really interesting conversation. A lot of people sent in questions, so that's my paper right here. And I really just want to go into a lot of different directions. Now, if it's okay with you, I know that you want to focus on the Pyramid Code, but there's a lot of other topics going on in the world. Specifically, just a few days ago, there were tsunami warnings and earthquakes, one in Japan. There was an earthquake in New York City, right by Astoria, Queens, 1.7 magnitude. Really weird things are starting to happen. And I want to understand what you know about that. So maybe we can keep that for the end of this interview. But for now, my prime focus is going to be your prime focus, which is the Pyramid Code. Is that okay with you?
Yes, go ahead.
Is there anything you want to say before we dive into what we're going to speak about?
No, I'm ready.
Okay. So the first question has to do with the spirit world. There's something that you mention in the document all the time about the spirit world and all these laws and how the spirit world dictates the laws in the physical world and so on and so forth. Can you elaborate on what you mean by the spirit world in the Pyramid Code document?
Everyone, everybody has a soul, as we know. The soul represents the spiritual world, and the body represents the physical world. The brain that operates your entire body by being controlled by the soul is a combination of the spiritual and physical world, intertwined together. In the beginning of time, man used to be 90% in the spirit world and 10% in the physical world. Today, it's opposite. It's 10-90.
What do you mean by that when you say 90%? Like, what does that actually look like?
If you look at today's world, on humanity, most people are very much into the physical world, materialistic things. They're getting away from nature. They're getting away from God. They're getting away from the divine. They don't believe in anything. They believe in money. They believe in power. They believe in governments. They believe in physical leaders. So it's a process that evolved over many, many years. Unfortunately, most people today are 90% physical and 10% spiritual. Some people are not even that. So that's what I mean when I said physical and spiritual world.
So you focused on the physical side. Can you elaborate on what 90% spiritual looks like in action?
The spiritual world will bring you to a more positive way of living. No wars. No lies. More transparency. More unity. No borders. No religions. Spirituality hates religion, and religion doesn't really like spirituality, although that's the way the religious leaders represent it in the world today. But in the spirit world, they are enemies.
Let's talk about religion for a second. We'll go back to the Pyramid Code. So a few thousand years ago, I don't remember the dates off the top of my head, but a few thousand years ago, you wrote what you wrote in that document from your firsthand memories. How did religion play a role at that point in time? Were they more spiritual back then? Were they more religious? Did religion exist in the way that it exists today?
They were more spiritual, but very far from being 90%. Religion was created by man in order to control the masses. If you pay attention, it's really a book of laws that dictates how you have to live. Most of it is very positive things. I have nothing against it. However, it was in order to control the masses. They created a religion. They gave it a name. They gave it a prophet. Either Moses, Muhammad, Jesus, whatever you want to call it. But it was all created by man. Spirituality disappeared from this world, and it became more and more physical. So transparency was gone. Deceit, lies, and wars came into play. And that's where we are today. We're in a very, very low place today spiritually.
Again, let's go back to religion. I'll give you my opinion, and then I want to hear yours. I agree with you in terms of control and control of the masses and all that. But when you look at the books, if you want to look at the Quran, the Torah, the New Testament, they're beautiful books in and of themselves. In my opinion, the problem was what was done with those books after. So my question for you is, do you believe the books are corrupted? Or do you believe that there was a clean and clear base in terms of its potential, and we took it to a negative place as human beings with our own free will?
It's a combination of the two.
Can you elaborate?
Most people believe that the Bible was written by God, And the Bible is the base for Christianity and Islam. They all base the religion off the Bible.
When you say the Bible, you're talking about the Old Testament.
Yes, but the Bible, it was written by man. Therefore, there's a chance for corruption.
One second. We always have these conversations, and now I want to put it on record. Because sometimes people think that because I interview you, I agree with you. I don't agree with you on this one, and I want to make that clear. And maybe I'll even prove something to you through your own logic in a way. You're saying, from our prior conversations, that the Bible was not written by God, it was written by a human being. I agree with you. That's what it tells us. If you go to the Old Testament, it says, Moses went, received this basically download of information and laws and codes and so on and so forth, came down over a period of time, him and his helpers basically documented this. And that's where the Old Testament came from, and it kept going. Where I disagree with you is the fact that who's to say that that doesn't come from a higher place, and why is that higher place not a divine source? Because just like, not comparing myself to any of those individuals, but there are people like myself and many others that we get downloads. You sit there and you receive like, wow, this is a realization, a revelation. Now, it may not be original because somebody else may have thought about it, but it's original in your own experience of when it came to being and where it came from. I would say in that way, that download of information, whatever you want to call it, came from somewhere, and that's something, by your definition of God or divine or source, that's what it is. So how can you sit